Hey guys, welcome back to the Youngest Real Estate Podcast with Nate and Johanna. Today we have one of the most important guests to talk about how to make six figures in real estate. And we're going to go ahead and cut over to Logan Walter, the one and only, the man himself. Looks like $1 million.
Big fan of the podcast. Happy to be here.
I mean, you should. You know, listen, best podcast, the only podcast that you should be listening to. But
this is the only podcast worth listening to.
Some would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there is another podcast that they claim to have that name, but
it's just a title.
It's just a title. We actually have the reputation.
We're the real deal.
Yes.
I mean, you know, but listen, in all seriousness, six figures in real estate. Let's go ahead and dive into it.
Okay.
See, how long have you been in the business?
My first day of lead generation was January 3rd, 2022.
That's very specific. I couldn't tell you my first day, my first day lead generating. And how's it like, you know, diving in? What were your expectations?
My expectations is that I would make no money because my first day getting interested in real estate, I Googled, why do people fail? And the first thing that came up was 87% of real estate agents don't renew their licenses after 2 years. And so I said, okay, so there's some hurdles to overcome. And so I knew I needed to have a runway. I needed to ramp up to my career. And also I wanted to have some savings. I know everybody does it differently. Some people fly by the seat of their pants. They jump in and, you know, 8 months later they have their first deal or whatever the case may be. But for me, I have a family. I have 3 kids. I needed a little bit of some savings. And so I wasn't planning on making any money, but because of that, I think I didn't have that commission breath that a lot of people talk about having in their first year.
You weren't attached to the outcome.
Yeah, I wasn't attached to the outcome. I just wanted to serve the clients the best that I could. Most of my clients were people that I knew initially. And so I was told heading in that in order for somebody to trust you with a $300,000, $500,000 deal, they need to trust your character and your competency. So trust that you're not going to steer them wrong. You're going to be honest with them and that you're going to be good at the job. And so my friends trusted my character, had no clue if I would be good at the job. And so I had to prove to them that I could do the job well.
No, that's great. Now I want to kind of take a step back, right? So like you were like, I didn't expect to make any money my first year. So what was your expectation, like timeline wise? Were you like, all right, I'm not going to make any money, but year 2, I'm coming swinging.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you ask most new agents, how much do you want to make in your first year?
Always
six figures. 100K.
Yeah,
Six figures.
$100,000.
Yep.
Yeah, that was still the goal. And so I was ready to work towards that goal and do everything that was asked of me. I didn't come in with my own plans. I was ready to do what the team asked of me. And I also knew that most people that come in trying to do everything themselves fall on their faces. And their first year is a series of failures, which I have had my own share of failures. I just didn't want for somebody's life and home and dreams to fall apart because I wasn't willing to rely on the expertise of a team. And so that's why I came in on a team.
Okay. No, that's great. So like, did you do your homework beforehand? And obviously you did, right? You looked up that 80% of realtors fail. What other homework did you look into? What made you start looking into teams? Like what type of things were you looking at before you ever even got licensed or start lead generating?
That's a good question. I did several, what would you call them? Trainings. So I did the Ryan Serhant training. I did the Graham Stephan training. It was all just YouTube people, right? I later realized some of these people are really high producers. Some of these people are really good on YouTube. And you figure that out the more trainings you do. And then I would listen to a lot of podcasts. I eventually figured out, this podcast is just a married couple that's living in Puerto Rico that is not in production. And they just get on every day talking about real estate, still referring to it as the HUD. They don't even know it's called the Seller's Disclosure Notice anymore, you know? And then I looked on Reddit for best real estate podcast. Who can I trust? And somebody said, the only real estate podcast worth listening to, you got to listen to it because they're funny.
What are the chances?
So I started listening to it. I thought they were funny. But then about 30 minutes into each episode, they would start arguing. And the content of that arguing there was so much substance there. And so I realized, I can actually learn something from these people. They're not a married couple living in Puerto Rico. They're actually in production. They're leading teams. And then 5 episodes in, I realized they were on Preston Road in Dallas. I had no clue. I was working at the time at a church on Preston Road in Frisco. And so I was like, I just got to go 10 miles south on the same road. I should do that. And so I had a Zoom interview with Matt Kelderman of the only real estate podcast worth listening to. joined the team and have tried to do what the team leaders say. And that's led to some production.
All right, so now that you're in the business, right? You're in the business. You've had your struggles. You've seen the failures. Why do you think 80% of realtors fail and don't hit that six-figure goal mark that everybody walks in saying that they want to hit, right?
87%.
87%. My bad.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, a lot of people aren't all in. I think they're interested in real estate. They're interested in getting their license. They're interested in seeing how it goes, but they're not actually diving headfirst into the pool to really give all of themselves to it. And then I also think I've realized, even like with you guys and with the people who are successful on the team, there's a unique blend of hard work, humility, and confidence. I know that sounds weird to say. We're so humble. But there has to be a humility to door knock or to call people, get rejected, and say, just keep going.
I agree.
I think a lot of people that their pride might get so hurt by getting rejected like that they're just like, I think I'm going to go to something where there's a little less rejection, or I don't have to grind in this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Their ego gets the better.
Yeah. And I've seen, there are people, because what I love about real estate is people can be successful from all walks of life. I was a musician.
Which is exactly why I told Nate I really want to have my BFF Logan on the show.
Oh.
Yeah.
That ego just took a hit.
Stay humble. Stay humble.
Yes. But that's exactly why. We're not going to give our listeners the steps, the breakdown on. You come in, because if this specific episode was just Nate and I, we would say just make 100, 200, 500 dials a day.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of our industry, is that
I would not be telling them that. I'd be telling them, listen, there's a briefcase with 6 figures underneath the bed, and you just got to find the house that has it.
Well, if you can go that route, then by all means, please. It's much easier than calling 500 people a day. But I love that in this industry, you can do it this way. You can do it through your sphere from a musical background, a musician's background. You can do it through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter when that was a thing, TikTok now. There's not one way to do it. There's a million ways to do it. And you can do it if you are humble, if you are hardworking, and if you are either confident or you fake it till you are actually confident.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had to do. I didn't come in with confidence, but I faked that I was confident, and then I started to be more confident.
You did the work,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, one of the things that people said over and over again is that you need to niche down. And I think in 2022, that hasn't worked quite as well for some people. So if you headed into 2022 as a new agent and your plan was to niche down on expireds, and then you check every day in February for expireds, and there's 0 to 2 expireds that day, and there's no cancels because everything is selling, then you might need to adjust and do some open houses, because open houses were crushing.
Yes.
Or you need to reach out to your sphere.
But
Go ahead.
I'll argue that's also an excuse, right? Okay, if today you don't have expired, cancels, withdrawns, FSBOs, circle prospecting list. To me, that all falls under the bubble of circle prospecting, right? Yes, pretty much of prospecting, cold calling, however you want to label that. And I say that to say the simplicity in your lead gen, you pointed out, which I think is very important. You can find a million excuses, and yes, finding your niche is very important, but then in simplifying your lead gen to find that niche is gonna push you, I think, so much further ahead than trying to do a million things and not doing any of them, not perfecting any of those, whether that be open houses, social media, or cold calling.
Yeah, I think that for me, when I say that to niche down, I think in 2022 you have to be flexible, right? So open houses were working really well for me at the first half of 2022. Now I've done some open houses where 0 people came except for the Uber Eats person that I had bring the meal to the house, But now expireds and cancels is crushing. So I did call expireds and cancels every day in January, February, March. And there are some follow-ups now from that I'm finally experiencing that, where you contacted somebody in March and then they call you in August and they say, we're ready to do something now. But now I think if I were just totally dependent on open houses, I think my business would be really hurting. But there's so many expireds and canceled now. There's opportunity there.
You definitely have to learn to adapt and how to be nimble and how to quickly change if the market changes. However, how much time on task do you think that you actually need to say this? I did really well in this and not. And I backtrack also that as a newer agent, I think you do have to try a lot of
It's true.
a lot of things, and then find what you enjoy and what actually works for you, and then niche down in whatever is more effective for you. But yes, open houses were great for you the first part of the year, and now they're not. But also, your overall time on task isn't, even mine or Nate's isn't that much in comparison to agents who have been doing it 20 years. So they've been through a lot of more ebbs and flows than we have. So do you continue those open houses? Like, do you abandon them completely? Or do you just continue because you know that it's going to ebb and flow and eventually they're going to kick back up? Like, the consistency. How long should you be consistent at something? Because I will talk to new agents who would be like, well, I've been cold calling, but no luck. I'm like, have you been cold calling for a week, or are we talking, how long are we talking? So how much time on task are you giving to these, or, how much more time do you want to stick to these things before you decide, yes, I want to continue this source, or it's just not working for me, or I'm just not enjoying it, even though I may be successful at it?
I think that time on task is, I will never stop. I say this, at least in my first couple of years, I'm not going to stop doing open houses. I just think that there will be times where it's more effective than others. And so
Absolutely.
It was very effective in the first 6 months. I have a listing coming on the market this weekend that I'm going to do 3 open houses at. But the point is not that I'm doing 3 open houses. The point is that it's an expired listing, right? And so I got that listing from calling expireds.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get it from doing open houses.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still going to do the open houses because eventually that's going to come back around.
Yep.
I'm also going to call the expireds, which was not very effective in January. It's really effective right now because there's 50 canceled a day.
Yep.
Because people are so disappointed. And they're all so disappointed with their previous realtors.
Yes.
So there's an opportunity to step in and say, oh, they didn't do this, we'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you provide whatever it was that they were lacking in their previous experience. And then eventually open houses will come back
Yep.
around.
The success will lie in the consistency.
So, and I want to ask you about your mindset, because that's where I think a lot of newer agents mess up on, right? They want that instant gratification. You mentioned
they want
it.
the 100. They come in with 100K. That's what I want to make.
Exactly.
First year.
And then they get hit once, and they go down and they're like, woof, that hurt. And then they get hit a second time, and they're like, I'm out. I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
But you've obviously persisted. So like, what's the mindset that keeps you going? And you're like, hey, open houses may I've had nobody show up. The Uber Eats guy shows up. What makes you go back for more? Like, what's that mindset that you have?
Yeah, I think looking at it as a whole and knowing that putting in the work will pay off in the end. And also, I'm viewing everything, especially my first year in real estate, as a learning opportunity. Yep. And so if I have a disgruntled seller who's really upset with me about something, I'm like, I learned something today. I learned how to disgruntle a seller, and what can I learn from that experience? And so, or if I for example, I have a Facebook group that's Frisco based, and everybody that joins the group, I Facebook message them a video, and I say, hey, welcome to the group. I would love to work with you in the future if you're looking to buy or sell a house. And there's this one woman that said, yes, $1 million home. I was like, great, that's fantastic. She said, first, we need an apartment. I was like, okay, I can help you with that. We went back and forth for 3 weeks on Facebook Messenger. It was a very interesting interaction.
I was in the
Kathy,
office.
if you're watching this, I apologize for how this went down in the end. But I couldn't get her on the phone. I could not get this person on the phone. I'd be like, can we talk on the phone? And she'd be like, here's my husband's number. I'm giving way too much information, Kathy. I apologize. But then I would call her husband, and then after calling her husband, she would Facebook message me. This went on for 3 weeks until eventually she was like, I wish I was getting more help from you. And I said, can we talk on the phone? And then she blocked me.
Oh, no.
So I was like, man. And I had gone around to different apartments in Irving. I had done this whole mess of things. And I was like, I learned something today. Mm-hmm. Don't spend 3 weeks Facebook messaging a woman in Virginia when you could be using that time for other things. But I just use that as a learning opportunity.
I really love the fact that you said that you came in expecting to make no money. I really think that that's how every new agent should enter the business. I don't know if that was Nate's case, but that was my case. I said, I want to work hard. I want to learn this art. I want to learn this industry, and if I make money, great. And if not, I'm gonna learn. That's gonna be worth something, probably more than any paycheck, right? So I do love that, and I think that's how everyone should come in as a new agent. Yes, you want to make six. You want to have the goal of making six figures. I'm not saying don't have goals, don't have ambitions. Have that goal, but don't come in with the expectation that you're going to make six figures in your first year. It will come if you put in the work, and if, like you said, you focus on your clients, you focus on being the best agent for them by, if you are a newer agent, utilizing the resources at hand, including your mentors, your coaches, your teammates. But just don't count on the paycheck. I have I see agents who are like, oh, I'm under contract. Let me do the math, and this is how much I'm gonna make. Like, no, you focus on the client. The money will come, and if you focus on the money, believe me, it'll be gone before it even hits your account.
I think it's also important not to get into real estate for time freedom. I think a lot of people get in thinking, oh, I worked an 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday. That was horrible. 40 hours a week. I'm going to get into real estate so I can do what? Work less than that? No, you are on 8 to... You can try to shut it off. I try to shut it off at 8 p.m. I'm saying that to my wife. I'll send you the link to this podcast. I try to shut it off, but it's really hard. You're working a lot. And so I did not get in with the expectation of time freedom. I got in with the expectation of work correlating to reward. Yep. You work for the reward.
You guys are a lot healthier than me. I got in, and whenever I wasn't making money, like the first couple months, I was like cold sweats. I was like, oh my God, this is intense.
Well, how old were you?
I was 19.
Yeah,
so you know, yeah. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. But no, I mean, it was an experience, you know. So here's what I'll tell you. I was that agent. It took me 8 months to get my first deal. I mean, it was a grind. It was one of those things I was looking down. I was like, I'm about to go broke. I'm going to have to go get 2 jobs to make up for the rent I've got to pay, all these bills, and I just blew through all my savings. Like, this sucks. This was a horrible experience. How long did it take you to finally get your feet going? And, like, you know, what did you let's not say what did you do to get those actions, but how long did it take you to start seeing success?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate to enter the year with a married couple who entrusted me with a land deal in Tioga.
Tioga's the bomb.
It's the bomb, man.
Yeah.
I don't know why they entrusted me with this, but his words to me were, if anybody can sell it, you can. I still have never done another land deal in my life, but they trusted me with that. They were going to sell it for $40,000 an acre, and they decided to sign with me instead. We did the professional photos, we got the team on it, and it sold for $75 an acre.
Really?
And so it was
awesome.
84% above what they were going to sell it for. And then my brother sold his house, and then I had a couple at my church that entrusted me with the purchase of their first home, and Nancy, who was on our team, was on the other side of that deal. And so it was a situation where I won't give all the details because we have a fiduciary duty, confidentiality and all that, but it was a situation where it really helped that Nancy trusted the realtor on the other side of the deal because we're on the same team, and we both trusted Michael DeBacker. And so it was one of those situations where I had a couple at the church that trusted me with this land, I had my brother that trusted me, and I had this other couple that trusted me, and then it started to snowball.
I would argue that it should always be that way. You should always be able to trust the other agent and not think that you're like in a competition or
it's true.
In the
it's
ring
not a
with
competition,
them.
but unfortunately, it's not the entrance for being a realtor sometimes is not the highest. So you get some knuckleheads.
I know, but I mean, you we're all shooting for the same. Like, we're all trying to get to the closing table. It's the same goal, though. So it should be that way, but it's not. And you know, to go back to the title of the episode, How to Make Six Figures. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to tell us how much you're going to make this year.
Down to the penny.
Yeah.
But I mean, between May and July, you closed almost 7.5 million. That's insane. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. It just kind of all happened at once. So I had the land, and then I had my brother's house, and then I had the married couple, and then I actually had a closing in each of my first 4 months, which was
That's phenomenal.
amazing. That I had those clients trust me.
For reference points, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but for reference points, anybody that's ever getting licensed, I tell them you need to give it 60 to 90 days before you see any success. So for the fact that you have one closing for the first 4 months that you were in the business is awesome.
I will say, technically, I joined the team in November. It's just I wasn't doing real estate yet. I was still full-time in my previous job as a minister at a church. And so I actually had a couple that were actively looking for houses in Frisco. And for better or for worse, I actually just didn't feel like I could give them my best fiduciary duty to them because I didn't know what I was doing. I was not in the office. I wasn't asking any questions. I would not have known how to write a contract. And so they worked with another realtor, didn't get under contract. And so I do think that eventually I will work with them. But it was the kind of thing where I was basically saying no to any business that came my way until January. But I was getting onboarded.
But again, and that goes back to, and that's why I am so grateful to have you on the team and to have you as a business partner, and that we're best friends for life now, is the humility that you speak on. Like, yes, this industry does require a lot of humility, and it's sincere in that don't discredit the fact that, yes, you're saying you came in January 3rd, but you were already working beforehand. Okay, technically, I started lead generating before my actual start date, but that's also a part of who you are. Like, don't discredit yourself, and we tend to do that a lot. I don't know where that comes from. I think one doesn't come without the other. I don't think that you would be as successful as you are if you weren't that way, because that your clients see that. They see the goodness and the humility that you have. And so just the fact that you pointed that out, like, but wait, like, yes, these deals came in, but I was already working beforehand. Okay, but also, like, who does that? Like, who does $7.5 million in their first year in 3 months? That's just May through July. That's not even January through May. So again, like, that humility is a part of what gets you to make six figures. And like I said, I'm not asking you, but I mean, you're not slowing down, obviously, and you're doing incredible. You've done what the team has asked. That Nate and I just can't do is just lean in on our sphere. And
it's a struggle.
I would, and we've talked about this. We've talked about this time and time again. We would rather make 500 calls than call our sphere. We would rather.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We would rather do what other people find difficult. I guess we don't, rather than post on social media on a consistent basis and put ourselves out there. You've done just that because the team has said, if you do this, you're going to be successful, and you have been.
So, and I want to kind of piggyback off what Johanna said. How did you go about, and you're really, really good at this, I want you to talk about it, about not being a secret agent. A lot of people get licensed and nobody would ever know that they got licensed. And then, like, somebody will go off and use a different realtor, and they're like, oh my God, so-and-so just used a different agent. It's like, well, nobody knows that you were licensed. How did you go about that?
First of all, I think it's important to be aware of that. Sometimes you'll still be doing a deal with an agent on the other side of the deal, and you look them up on Facebook, and there'll be no evidence that they're a realtor on Facebook. Like, there's no forward-facing evidence that they're a realtor. Or I find out that a friend of mine had their license, and it was nowhere to be seen online. And so, just really practically, I want the first thing people see about me is Dallas-Fort Worth realtor, and then I want to have substantive. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I want to have conversations of substance with people. So if they come to an open house or if we're over lunch, I want to be able to explain to them, hey, in January of this year, there'll be about 1,400 homes hitting the market in all of North Texas. That's Oklahoma to Waco, Abilene to Louisiana, 1,400 homes. And for the first time in decades, it went down in February. Normally it goes up, and then you get spring inventory. It went down to 1,200 homes a week. And then I'll pull up on the MLS. Here's what's happening right now. 3,600 new homes on the market in the last 7 days. 4,100 price decreases.
I kind of miss those days.
Yeah. Well, so just talking about and then having those conversations, they're like, oh, okay, he's not just a guy who plays guitar and has a real estate license. It's somebody who is paying attention to the market, somebody that can be trusted as a fiduciary. And so everything I do, I do have relationships now with strangers. This listing that's going on the market in Aubrey is an expired listing. But everything I do is to show competency to my sphere.
Bring real value.
Yeah. I already know that we're friends, that they trust my character. And so whenever I did the top 5 pros and cons of living in Frisco, Texas, that wasn't necessarily to get strangers to trust me. It was to show people, hey, I know I just got my license. I know I just joined a team. I know I was leading you in O Come Emmanuel like last week for the Christmas Eve service, but you can now trust me as a real estate agent. Here's this video to show it.
And I want to relay this. So once you started doing that, once you start posting on Facebook, you do your Facebook video, which is freaking awesome.
Thank you.
What were you hearing? What was the feedback you were hearing back from people?
Yeah, I think that the feedback was just that, this is so interesting, that whatever information I was providing, it was all positive feedback. I got a lot of likes. And then I also think it's helpful to be on a team and to show, hey, this team is working towards this goal. We sold 300 homes last year, and then the team will occasionally put together graphics to show what I've done as an agent. All of that really helps prove to somebody who only knew me leading them in song just months ago that they can now entrust me with a $500,000 purchase.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to prove that to my
leaning
friends.
on the team. I love that. I when I talk to potential sellers or buyers, I say, how can my team and I serve you? Because we are serving them as a team. It's not just me. It's our listing manager, it's our transaction coordinator. It's my mentors who have taught me, the things I need to know, how to write a contract, how to protect you, how to be the best, your best fiduciary agent. But I mean, part of the equation, and something that we haven't touched on, and I don't think even Nate and I really touch on it that much, is also rest and recovery. Just as athletes, go 100% on. I'm not comparing us to any NBA basketball players, but athletes go 100% on the court. Also, that requires rest and recovery. So, to hit 6 figures in a year or more, if your goal is to do more, I do think that that's very important. How have you balanced, or how have you found the time to just also recover, rest, do that, take care of yourself so that you can then turn around and go 100% when you are in real estate mode.
Yeah. Well, I am a believer in the concept of Sabbath. That's just something that I have always believed in. It's really hard to find a day to rest in real estate. It was actually hard to find a day to rest in ministry, because you're working on Sunday, the day that everybody tells you you're supposed to rest. You're actually working on that day, so that's a little tricky. But in real estate, there's a pastor in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. His name is Tim Keller, and he talks about when you get into a new field, maybe you're doing a medical residency that has demands on you every day and it's really intense, that you can go a season with not having necessarily a day each week, but he's like, get back to it as soon as you can. And so that's how I approached the beginning of real estate. I didn't necessarily set aside a day. I wouldn't have even known which day to set aside initially.
No, you had to find that balance.
Yeah, I had to figure out which day that would be. And I've decided that it's Wednesdays. Ironically, this is a Wednesday, and here I am in the office with my top button buttoned.
I'm so sorry. I did think about that.
But no, it's just on Wednesdays I will wake up, I work out at my leisure, I read at my leisure. If there's something fun like this, I get to do it at my leisure. And so I take Wednesdays, and then I also try to shut it off after 8 p.m. at night. I think Adam Hergenrother is the one that says nothing good happens after 8 p.m. And so even though I've never met him, he's never said that to me personally. I've just absorbed that, and I believe it, that I try to shut it off after 8 p.m., and I try to shut it down on Wednesdays unless my friends ask me to do something fun like a podcast.
I'd listen. Joanna may consider you to be a best friend, but I'm definitely your absolute best friend.
Yeah, we're best friends. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, of course,
for sure.
All right, so what's kind of to if let's say I'm a new agent, I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey Logan, I want to make 6 figures. What advice are you giving them? In your first year, you need to do X, Y, Z. What are you saying?
My first thing would be, don't be a secret agent, like you're saying. So reach out to everybody who already trusts your character. They need to trust your character and your competency. And so you've already got that with your sphere. They already trust who you are as a person. They know your mom and dad, whatever. They know something about you. And so go to those people, prove your competency to them somehow, right? Talk about real estate with them. Talk about what you're doing. That'd be number one. And then number two, somebody Facebooked me recently, And a lot of the things that you guys do or that we do as a team just came out. And so, first of all, to your sphere. And then secondly, I would say try out all these different lead generation methods and see what works for you. So get up every morning and call expireds. Call the list of expireds and canceleds and say, hi, name. Hi, my name is Logan. I'm with Livy and team. I saw that this property came off the market. I was wondering what the story is. And then you hear what the story is, see how you can solve their problems, see if there can be a relationship there. Put them into a CRM, set them up on a follow-up plan, follow up with them, right? Do open houses. When you do open houses, make sure you have conversations of substance. Don't just talk about the Dallas Mavericks and what you had for breakfast that morning. Talk about what homes are on the market, what the market is like, what the interest rates are like. Show them that you know what you're talking about. And then I can't remember what the other thing is, but there's definitely other things. And so, but I would say definitely prove yourself to your sphere and then try different forms of prospecting. You know, I've door knocked Greyhawk. That hasn't turned into anything yet, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I'm going to continue doing that once it is below 100 degrees.
I don't blame you. It is miserably hot.
It is so hot. Nobody wants to even open the door. They're like, convection oven, could close it again.
Yeah, everybody. If it's me, I'm like, close the door. I'd say that more than. I mean, even with my dogs, I'm like, dude, hurry up.
I'm costing them money by door knocking their house.
Exactly.
Just letting in the wave of heat.
Oh, man. Well, Logan, we appreciate you hopping on, man. Where can people find you?
They can find me at Logan Walter.
Everywhere?
On Twitter, Instagram, and then Facebook, I'm Logan Walter.
Well, hold on. I've got to stop you. So Johanna says that Twitter's no longer a thing, if you were listening earlier.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. I don't really post on Twitter anymore. I only go to Twitter for live sports updates.
Okay, then you have to answer the question before we go.
Okay.
If they were to make a documentary about you, who's playing you?
Wow. I'm trying to think. I'm going to say, just because, dreams can be dreams, I'm going to say Tom Holland.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going more Tom Cruise. I thought that's where you were going to go.
See, how old do you think I am? I'm older than you guys. I'm not that old. He's 60.
Well, he looks really good for 60.
He does look good for 60.
Yeah.
I'll take either Tom. I will accept either Tom.
I want Vince Vaughn. That's my choice.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You have less lines around the eyes.
Well, I mean, listen, it's a movie. It doesn't have to be realistic.
He's also 15. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, so. I'm young. I'm a youngest real estate podcast.
So you're just saying it just doesn't matter how old this person is. You're just saying in their prime.
Yeah, in their prime. Like, they're going to recap
prime.
my entire life. Like, here's the thing. I'm 23 right now, but, hopefully I live a very long and happy life. Like,
Yeah, then in that case, Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, all right. Okay. I dig it.
Yeah.
She doesn't know actors. All right. Guys, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.